Hey geographers, we are now on 2.5, the demographic transition model. So for this, we are also going to be looking at the DTM in combination with women and demographic change. It also complements each other as it did in 2.4. So for 2.5, you need to be able to explain the theories of population growth and decline. So the demographic transition model is an excellent way that we can use. This model is helps us remember what's happened typically when we see society's population demographics changing. And it also goes hand in hand with epidemiological transitions, which means the causes of the change in death rate. And then again, for 2.8, how female demographic consequences in different parts of the world and those factors. So for the demographic transition model. So demography overall is just the study of population statistics. The demographic transition model, or the DTM, is a model used by geographers to analyze and predict trends in population growth and decline, including patterns of birth, death, and then natural increase rates. So this is what it looks like right here. This is a demographic transition model. So there's 5 stages, and it takes into account birth rate, death rate, and then total population. And then as you can see down here, this is also important for you guys to notice. We see population pyramid shapes that correspond with the different stages. So let's take a look at this also. This is the epidemiological transition model, or the ETM. So this is predictable stages in disease and life expectancy that countries experience as they develop, which corresponds with DTM. So this goes hand in hand. Epidemiological transition is specifically the change in death rate and the reasons why that's happening. So we see essentially people passing away in earlier stages of the demographic transition model, different reasons than in later stages of the demographic transition model. So we'll talk about all that here, don't you worry. So please annotate the DTM with different colors. I would suggest having that printout and writing it out, or just like drawing it out completely yourself. A different color for birth rate, death rate, rate of natural increase, which is right here, and then the total population growth. So characteristics of stage 1. So this is stage 1 of the demographic transition model. So the whole thing here, like this is just one little strip of the DTM. So reasons for the crude birth rate. So birth rate right up here. So it's a high total fertility rate because children are not likely to survive long term. So there's high infant mortality rate and high child mortality rate. Infant mortality rate, again, is death within 1 year of birth. Child mortality rate is within 5 years of birth. Between age 1 to 5 is child mortality. So there was a high birth rate because of the need for child labor in agricultural societies. So today in stage 1, we don't really see places in stage 1. There might be some very isolated places at the moment. So reasons for crude death rate. So way up here, so very high death rate. Short life expectancy. People did not live very long when we were in this stage. Famine, poor diet, inadequate housing, disease, warfare, all kinds of things would cause people to pass away. Infections, colds, flus, like little things like that, people would pass away. And then the natural increase rate overall was very low growth, right? So high birth rate, high death rate means low growth. Examples include, let me go back. There's no countries in this stage. This is where we used to be. And like I said, maybe some very isolated groups and communities might have this. Population composition, there was youth dependency because there was a lot of young people in this stage. So for stage 2, right here. Crude birth rate is still high, still the same as the previous stage, but crude death rate, this is where we see a big difference. So still low life expectancy, but we do start to see some development, some improved nutrition, sanitation, and medications. So people are able to survive and not die as quickly. So because birth rate is still high and death rate is declining, we see rapid growth. So total population is increasing. So birth rate high, death rate is falling rapidly, rate of natural increase is very rapidly increasing. So typically we see this in less developed countries. So examples would include Nigeria, Mali, South Sudan, places that are not well developed in the world. And then population composition, again, is high youth dependency. There's a lot of young people. And then stage 3, characteristics, reasons for crude birth rate. So now we see this birth rate dipping down. Urbanization reduces the need for child labor. So people are now moving into cities. Children are expensive, and then also living spaces are smaller in urban areas. There's also an increase in healthcare and female employment and education. So now we're seeing women starting to work more healthcare. So then they're able to put off having children, and then we see that birth rate dipping down. Reasons for crude death rate. So again, death rate is here, dipping down, but not too quickly, and then kind of leveling out. Life expectancy increases due to the progression of advancements from previous stages. So now medical care is a lot better. Natural increase rate, the growth is still growing, but at a slower rate than in stage 2. Stage 2, it was growing the most rapidly of all the stages. So birth rate is falling. Death rate falls, but more slowly. Natural increase is still increasing, but just not as quickly. So examples, a lot of semi-periphery countries like Turkey, Mexico, Indonesia, India, just to name a few. Population composition, so society is still young, but more people are surviving to an older age. So characteristics of stage 4. So reasons for crude birth rate, the same as the previous stage. So again, women are experiencing far more availability of opportunities, putting off marriage, which means putting off children, better access to healthcare and contraceptives. Reasons for crude death rate. So as you can see, that's kind of leveled off. So life expectancy continues to increase. So people are living longer now. Rate of natural increase is then falling and then stabilizes at low growth. So that rate of natural increase, it's still increasing, but then by the end of the stage, it's stable. So the majority of more developed countries are in stage 4. China's more at the beginning of stage 4. They're still growing. Australia, Canada, South Korea, US. South Korea is more at the end of stage 4. They're more evening out, leveling out. And then population composition, it's beginning to shift to elderly dependency. So here's where we start to see more older people as opposed to more younger people. And then finally, stage 5. So stage 5, reasons for crude birth rate. Crude birth rate replacement level, in order to have stable population growth, needs to be at 2.1. Zero population growth means that crude birth rate and crude death rate are the same. Okay, so people are just not having nearly as many children, but there is that replacement level, right? Reasons for crude death rate. This is the most medically advanced that you can be, and that's the stage where a lot of countries are starting to enter now. Natural increase rate, it's very, very low, or in some cases negative. Examples would be Japan and Germany, very, very low growth rate or negative growth rate. And then population composition is that elderly dependency ratio. So there's not nearly as many young people, there's actually more elderly people at this stage. So here it is in its entirety, stages 1 through 5. And as you can see, the different population pyramid shapes that correspond with these different stages. So in terms of epidemiologic transition, in stage 1, petulance and famine, we don't really struggle with these nearly as much as we used to. So diseases, going hungry doesn't happen nearly as much. And then in this next stage, in stage 2, receding pandemics, again, less likely now, less infectious diseases. There's better medical advancements in sanitation, so people are living longer in stage 2. Then in stage 3, we start to see more degenerative and human-made diseases. So basically diseases that are associated with aging and lifestyle choices. So like heart disease, cancer, we see this in starting in stage 3 and then definitely in stage 4 and 5. So people being able to live with chronic diseases. And then delayed degenerative diseases, again, aging and lifestyle choices can help with this, right? So in the most advanced countries, we do see higher rates of Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that, because their physical well-being is better than what it used to be, right? Because of more medical care advancements. So we do have instances where we see a reemergence of infectious diseases. For example, Ebola happened not too long ago, or outbreaks were happening not too long ago. And then, of course, COVID. We all remember COVID. And that's all for 2.5 with that connection to 2.8.